Hi everyone. My name is Stofega. I manage the mobile device research on a worldwide basis at IDC. And today I'm going to talk about a lot of macro concepts, I think. I like the little tagline at the end of the video, which sort of said, what role are you going to play? And I want to emphasize that. There's lots of new things happening in the market. It's almost unbelievable, the rate of innovation, the rate of dynamics in terms of competition. And so I would almost think of my role here today is to, A, get you to sort of think about and ask great questions, but also take some of these sort of concepts that Andy and I have talked about back to your business, back to wherever you work, and think about how mobility is going to change over the next 5 to 10 years, because it's not going to be the same. So when I think about mobility today, I think a lot about innovation from both the technical perspective, what's going to, and more importantly, there's lots of discussion around mature markets, and I think there's going to be some very interesting things happening there, and this is going to be, I'll address some of these topics in a bit. And also in what I call growth markets, the term emerging markets, these markets are already there, they're growing, they're huge, the demand. That would be an interesting play. Anyway, so I think at the end of the day, there's lots of things happening, and not to just focus on what's happening in mature markets, not to focus on cool, shiny objects, but think about services that are more transformational, less indulgent moving forward. I think the one thing we also have to realize, the mobile device is becoming the centerpiece, and it is a mobile device, right? Tablets aren't. That's the beauty of a mobile device. You can actually use it while you're walking, talking, and maybe even driving. But more importantly, the mobile device is becoming this container. It's a control point. It stores media. It does lots of other new and different things. And it's going to start to interact with things beyond the mobile domain as it exists today, or the communications domain. It's going to start to outreach and touch other parts of your life. And I think what we're going to see, and already starting to see, is this whole notion of extracting information from other types of networks, or in better phrase, extracting information from anything from posters, NFC posters, to maybe even identifying rocks, believe it or not. I've seen business models and capabilities, and this is going to require lots of new and different things. Of course, device, BOM, and technology, but also back-end databases, cloud, all these other things that are going to have to work in concert, and I think there's fantastic opportunity. And as Andy sort of mentioned, as well as Joe and Perry, there's this next billion sort of group of people that need these devices, that need these technologies that will be very helpful in uplifting and creating new economies and new areas of growth. So I pointedly tried to stay away from putting up slides and numbers, right? I mean, but this I think is really sort of the most of what's happening in the market today. We're already seeing a shift in sale of smartphones, right? It's going from mature, North America, Western Europe, being rapidly shifting to the Asia Pacific. And this is being driven by a couple of different factors, including the emergence of a middle class in some of these economies, as well as the use of Android as a lever to bring down, pull down cost. And finally, the need for this technology, as it's often cheaper to deploy wireless networks than to start to deploy wired networks and do trenching and all the costs associated with that. So this is really sort of a driver for growth. It's not to say that there's not opportunity in mature markets. It's a different sort of game, and when I talk about mature and when I talk about emerging or growth markets, I think that it's the structure in terms of how to see what's going to happen in these markets. It's not to disparage one over the other. So in thinking about what's happening in mature markets, I think what we're starting to see, once again, it gets back to the mobile device as this sort of centerpiece in a lot of ways. This coming together of technologies that's going to start to reach beyond the communications domain and take advantage of mobility. We're going to start to see the installation of pico projectors on a more widespread basis. That pico projector technology will roll into things like micro-navigation, right? Being able to find your way at a show, more importantly at an airport. And what's really starting course, Andy talked a little bit about Android, and I think there's lots of interesting things happening. It's a juggernaut, no doubt, right? Android plays well at the high end with some of the devices listed at the top of the slide, the HTCs, the Galaxy S's. But more importantly, more interestingly, it plays well at the low end, right? Micromax, Indian vendor that just finished up an IPO, doing quite nicely. Of course, the more significant international brands like Huawei, Kyocera, Carbon, Lava, all these different types of companies that are starting to get into the market and delivering this sort of capability that Android allows them to do and bringing a price-sensitive device quickly to market.